Okay, welcome back. I would love to catch up with all of you. We just have a lot of work to do before we start our project tomorrow. I'll catch up with you all then, okay? Okay? Give me a thumbs up so I know you're not depressed. Thank you, okay? If you are depressed, we're just gonna move on. Okay, chapter 3 is all about looking at technology and how this impacts culture in a globalizing world. We're gonna close the door because we don't need to hear this. Budget cuts, man, they gotta break the wall down. Okay. Oh, perfect. So, 3 main questions here. To what extent do media and communication technology affect our identities? Very interesting question to consider for, all of you who are so very connected to every piece of information online, to the point where it's probably too much, right? Also, trends seem to rapidly change as well. What impacts does social media have on your identity and well-being? So how does what you see online affect you? Let's say mood-wise, your temperament. How does it affect who you think you are and who you would like to be? Okay. In our discussion last week, some people did mention, like, hey, you go online, you see that David Goggins content. How many of you actually see that and then go for like a run? I don't know, okay, sometimes, right? There you go. So it positively impacts, right? Your connection to media leads to actually doing something, right? You don't know who David Goggins is? Where have you been? Living under a rock? Come on.
That guy doesn't motivate.
This is another question. What's that?
That guy does not motivate.
Does not motivate you. How have cell phones affected the way you interact with people? This one's very interesting. Like, as someone who grew up where I still remember when cell phones kind of transitioned into our existence, particularly in the classroom. I still remember when the first iPhone came out, a couple people had one, like, whoa, that person's got an iPhone. It's crazy. Okay. We used to have, like, how many of you kids know what like a flip phone is? What's that?
Tyson has one of those. He has like a Samsung flip phone.
Who does?
Tyson might fall.
No, that's like the new version.
Yeah, but it's
That's not an actual flip.
flip phone.
Like the flip phone, there's like
So interesting enough, like back in my day, like phones used to be really tiny, right? So what they would do, you'd open it up, there'd be a keypad, right? So instead of having an individual button for each letter, you had to hit like the same button like 3 or 4 times. And so what did you say? Too complicated to use, right? Compared to what you're using. People also had these phones where you'd slide it and there'd be a keyboard underneath,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
Those were fun.
I had that.
Those were fun.
Those are the cool
Right? Like back in the day, like going from flip phone to slide phone, like holy, if you ever got into an argument on text, man, you could just hammer out a thesis statement, right? You could really just hit people with your arguments. Okay?
I had that.
Some people resorted to just calling. I think that's great. Right? It's less confusion, right? It's quicker. But very interesting. Like as soon as I give kids free time, compared to when I say, hey, you can have your phones, like it's a very different reality that comes into existence, right? What happens when you kids get your phones? You start using them, you start talking to people. Oh, what do you do? Like maybe you play a game, maybe you go on TikTok or Instagram. You kids are so quiet today, like you don't use your phones for TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. I love how you're trying to keep yourself awake, okay? This is the best part of your day, man. You shouldn't need to force yourself awake. What's up?
At least I learned how to call people out in about 12 different languages.
You learn how to call people out?
Yeah, I'm learning, right now I'm learning that's math.
Bro's on,
Say Latin.
bro's on Duolingo.
So if you're ever in like the Call of Duty Xbox lobby, it doesn't matter what language they're speaking, you'll just call them out, right?
Yeah.
Do you think cell phones have positively impacted your ability to communicate with people?
No.
Yes, no. Communicate, not connect.
No.
That's a whole different story, right? You think cell phones are bad?
No.
For communication
Yes.
sometimes.
I think
Because like you're not fully focused on the conversation, right?
'Cause they have
You'll
Phones are good. Cell phones maybe not so much. Sometimes you're not focused on the conversation.
Yeah.
Right. How many of you use Snapchat as like a regular form of communication with
I
people?
don't ever use that.
Okay. you not find it very bizarre? Like, how do you remember the conversation? Because the messages disappear, right?
Oh, you can save them.
No, but that used to be cringe when Snapchat came out. Back in my day, if somebody saved his message, you knew right away they're up to no good. Okay, I feel like that's still the case.
You could like,
Yeah?
you can have like a 24 hour.
Oh, 24 hours. Okay. How do you have like a continuous conversation if all your messages disappear?
Just know.
You can't. You just know. No, you just know. I love it. Okay, right? So we're going to be looking at a bunch of different concepts around technology and how it impacts your identity in a globalizing world. Sorry, kids. These are old PowerPoints. They're filled with walls of text. Okay. So it's a good thing I'm recording, and you can just play this back and listen to everything I have to say. Right? The young man who didn't have a pencil, sitting there with that pose, though. He had the pose going on at least. Okay. It'd be useful to take the notes, okay? But keep in mind, all this stuff is posted online, so you will have this. The young girl over there who's making the exact same pose on the exact opposite side. Look, it's like a math equation, right? What is that? I always sucked at this part of math. Okay. Reflections, translations, all that kind of stuff, I was terrible at, okay? Where you choose to spend your money, you know, people vote with their dollars as well, right? Additionally, people vote with their time as well. So how many of you use your most time-consuming app is TikTok? How many of you would you guess? Okay. How many of you for you would it be Instagram? Right. I don't have. Oh, this guy forgot something.
You watch YouTube first.
I don't know where it is anymore. Hold on. Did anyone see a binder on this rope right there? Is that yours?
No.
The blue and black one?
Yeah. No.
You good?
Just pretend I'm not here.
No, we can't pretend you're not here if you start kicking things. That's okay. We forgive you.
I think I'm
Okay, so people vote with their time, people vote with their money, people vote with their attention, the things you attend to, right? So like you mentioned earlier, sometimes people attend to their cell phone more than they do to the relationships in their life, right? And I can be pretty bad for this as well. Sometimes I have to remind myself, hey, put the phone down while this person's talking to you. What I'm doing on my phone is secondary, right? A friend, he had told me a while ago, like, this was many years ago, and this is kind of the first time I had heard anyone speak of cell phones this way, that like, you know, the cell phone is there, he said, the cell phone is there for my convenience, not for theirs, right? So he kind of leave his phone off often, or would leave it in a place that's not really accessible. And so what you attend to, what you pay attention to, you also vote in that manner. And many people choose to attend regularly just to their cell phone, right? So this might not be a comfortable question to ask. How many of you have spoken to your parents and while you were speaking, they were just on the phone? How many of you have experienced that? Right? Okay. How many of you have had that experience happen with a friend? Okay. How many of you have been that person? Right? That you're the one using your phone while someone's trying to talk to you, right? So coming back to that question in the previous slide, trying to understand, like, what do these devices do for us? Like, you know, in many cases, it's not clear who's using who. Are you using your cell phone, or is your cell phone using you? Right? And through that, I mean, you kids are young, so you probably don't have credit cards, and you probably don't have a lot of extra cash. But for people who do, when you're always connected to Instagram, to TikTok, you're probably always seeing products, some sort of advertisements, but you're likely just consistently consuming something, whether it's the content itself or literally spending your money somewhere just buying stuff, right? So what do these devices do? How do they shape pop culture? How do they shape these mass markets, right? So mass market, you kind of understand, at least in North America, like you all remember fidget spinners, right? Do you remember these? Okay. I wonder what the next thing is gonna be that people go crazy for. Cause like between fidget spinners and now, there was another one, NFTs. Do you kids know about these?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanna say, I don't know if it was you,
What are those?
I can't say your names on the recording. NFTs are like pictures. Non-fungible token, it's like a picture.
Like, and then like.
Right, but-
off
but-
right away.
Yeah, but like, the scam was that you own the original artwork. Everybody else just owns a screenshot. Okay, and somehow they created some value for a small amount of time in the mass market. People went crazy. Anything else you can think of that people just got really crazy for? Right, fidget spinners was one, NFTs.
Wasn't it Rubik's Cube?
Bitcoin kind of, but Bitcoin has a legitimate value to it, I would say, because it's a currency that can't be inflated or deflated by the government artificially. Like it has a value. Right.
That used to be like a big thing.
Rubik's Cube, I don't know when, maybe back in the day.
No, like 2 years, 3 years ago.
Yeah?
4.
Maybe, okay. So how does your connection to your device, to the internet, to this massive amount of data that we communicate with on a regular basis, like how does that affect pop culture, right? So for example, one of the most popular, who would you say is the most popular artist right now, music artist? Who would you say? Drake comes to mind? Taylor Swift, another one?
I don't know
Anyone else? Any other, do we feel like there's any other musicians that like everybody kind of knows
It
about?
could be like this one European.
Kanye.
Not everybody.